The internet makes it possible to quickly find information, communicate with people around the world, manage your finances, shop from home, listen to music, watch videos, and much, much more. Let's take a look at some of the ways the internet is most commonly used today. The internet is the global system of interconnected computer networks that uses the Internet Protocol Suite, TCP/IP, to communicate between networks and devices. It is a network of networks that consists of private, public, academic, business, and government networks of local to global scope, linked by a broad array of electronic, wireless, and optical networking technologies. The Internet carries a vast range of information resources and services, such as the interlinked hypertext documents and applications of the World Wide Web, www, electronic mail, telephony, and file sharing. The origins of the Internet date back to research to enable time sharing of computer resources and the development of packet switching in the 1960s. The set of rules, communication protocols, to enable internetworking on the Internet arose from research and development commissioned in the 1970s by the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, of the United States Department of Defense in collaboration with universities and researchers across the United States and in the United Kingdom and France. The ARPANET initially served as a backbone for the interconnection of regional academic and military networks in the United States to enable resource sharing. The funding of the National Science Foundation Network as a new backbone in the 1980s, as well as private funding for other commercial extensions, encouraged worldwide participation in the development of new networking technologies and the merger of many networks using DARPA's Internet Protocol Suite. The linking of commercial networks and enterprises by the early 1990s, as well as the advent of the World Wide Web, marked the beginning of the transition to the modern Internet, and generated a sustained exponential growth as generations of institutional, personal, and mobile computers were connected to the network. Although the Internet was widely used by academia in the 1980s, the subsequent commercialization in the 1990s and beyond incorporated its services and technologies into virtually every aspect of modern life. Most traditional communication media, including telephone, radio, television, paper mail, and newspapers, are reshaped, redefined, or even bypassed by the Internet, giving birth to new services such as email, internet telephone, internet television, online music, digital newspapers, and video streaming websites. Newspaper, book, and other print publishing have adapted to website technology or have been reshaped into blogging, web feeds, and online news aggregators. The Internet has enabled and accelerated new forms of personal interaction through instant messaging, Internet forums, and social networking services. Online shopping has grown exponentially for major retailers, small businesses, and entrepreneurs, as it enables firms to extend their brick-and-mortar presence to serve a larger market or even sell goods and services entirely online. Business-to-business and financial services on the Internet affect supply chains across entire industries. The Internet has no single centralized governance in either technological implementation or policies for access and usage. Each constituent network sets its own policies. The overarching definitions of the two principal namespaces on the Internet, the Internet Protocol Address, IP address, space, and the Domain Name System, DNS, are directed by a maintainer organization, the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, ICANN. The technical underpinning and standardization of the core protocols is an activity of the Internet Engineering Task Force, IETF, a non-profit organization of loosely affiliated international participants that anyone may associate with by contributing technical expertise. In November 2006, the Internet was included on USA Today's list of the new 7 wonders. The terms Internet and World Wide Web are often used interchangeably. It is common to speak of going on the Internet when using a web browser to view web pages. However, the World Wide Web, or the web, is only one of a large number of Internet services, a collection of documents, web pages, and other web resources linked by hyperlinks and URLs. In the 1960s, computer scientists began developing systems for time sharing of computer resources. J.C.R. Licklider proposed the idea of a universal network while working at Bolt Beranek and Newman and, later, leading the Information Processing Techniques Office, IPTO, at the Advanced Research Projects Agency, ARPA, of the United States Department of Defense, DoD. Research into packet switching, one of the fundamental Internet technologies, started in the work of Paul Barron in the early 1960s and, independently, Donald Davies in 1965. After the Symposium on Operating Systems Principles in 1967, packet switching from the proposed NPL network was incorporated into the design of the ARPANET, an experimental resource-sharing network proposed by ARPA. ARPANET development began with two network nodes which were interconnected between the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA, and SRI International, SRI, on October 29, 1969. The third site was at the University of California, Santa Barbara, followed by the University of Utah. In a sign of future growth, 15 sites were connected to the young ARPANET by the end of 1971. These early years were documented in the 1972 film Computer Networks, The Heralds of Resource Sharing. Thereafter, the ARPANET gradually developed into a decentralized communications network, connecting remote centers and military bases in the United States. Other user networks and research networks, such as the Merit Network and Cyclades, were developed in the late 1960s and early 1970s. Early international collaborations for the ARPANET were rare. Connections were made in 1973 to the Norwegian Seismic Array, NORSAR, and to Peter Kirstein's research group at University College London, which provided a gateway to British academic networks, forming the first internetwork for resource sharing. ARPA projects, international working groups and commercial initiatives led to the development of various protocols and standards by which multiple separate networks could become a single network or a network of networks. In 1974, Vint Cerf at Stanford University and Bob Kahn at DARPA published a proposal for a protocol for packet network intercommunication. They used the term Internet as a shorthand for Internetwork in RFC 675 and later RFCs repeated this use. Cerf and Kahn credit Louis Posen with important influences on the resulting TCP/IP design. National PTTs and commercial providers developed the X.25 standard and deployed it on public data networks. Access to the ARPANET was expanded in 1981 when the National Science Foundation, NSF, funded the Computer Science Network, XNET. In 1982, the Internet Protocol Suite, TCP/IP, was standardized, which facilitated worldwide proliferation of interconnected networks. TCP/IP network access expanded again in 1986 when the National Science Foundation Network, NSFNet, provided access to supercomputer sites in the United States for researchers, first at speeds of 56 kbit/s and later at 1.5 mbit/s and 45 mbit/s. The NSFNet expanded into academic and research organizations in Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and Japan in 1988-89. Although other network protocols such as UUCP and PTT public data networks had global reach well before this time, this marked the beginning of the Internet as an intercontinental network. Commercial Internet Service Providers, ISPs, emerged in 1989 in the United States and Australia. The ARPANET was decommissioned in 1990. Steady advances in semiconductor technology and optical networking created new economic opportunities for commercial involvement in the expansion of the network in its core and for delivering services to the public. In mid-1989, MCI Mail and CompuServe established connections to the Internet, delivering email and public access products to the 500,000 users of the Internet. Just months later, on January 1, 1990, PSINet launched an alternate Internet backbone for commercial use, one of the networks that added to the core of the commercial Internet of later years. In March 1990, the first high-speed T1, 1.5 mbit/s, link between the ENSFNet and Europe was installed between Cornell University and CERN, allowing much more robust communications than were capable with satellites. 6 months later, Tim Berners-Lee would begin writing World Wide Web, the first web browser, after 2 years of lobbying CERN management. By Christmas 1990, Berners-Lee had built all the tools necessary for a working web: the Hypertext Transfer Protocol, HTTP, 0.9, the Hypertext Markup Language, HTML, the first web browser, which was also an HTML editor and could access Usenet newsgroups and FTP files, the first HTTP server software, later known as CERN HTTPD, the first web server, and the first web pages that described the project itself. In 1991, the Commercial Internet Exchange was founded, allowing PSINet to communicate with the other commercial networks CE ARPANET and Alternet. Stanford Federal Credit Union was the first financial institution to offer online internet banking services to all of its members in October 1994. In 1996, OP Financial Group, also a cooperative bank, became the second online bank in the world and the first in Europe. By 1995, the Internet was fully commercialized in the US when the NSFNet was decommissioned, removing the last restrictions on use of the Internet to carry commercial traffic. As technology advanced and commercial opportunities fueled reciprocal growth, the volume of Internet traffic started experiencing similar characteristics as that of the scaling of most transistors, exemplified by Moore's law, doubling every 18 months. This growth, formalized as Edholm's law, was catalyzed by advances in MOS technology, laser light wave systems, and noise performance. Since 1995, the Internet has tremendously impacted culture and commerce, including the rise of near-instant communication by email, instant messaging, telephony, Voice over Internet Protocol or VoIP, two-way interactive video calls, and the World Wide Web. 55 with its discussion forums, blogs, social networking services, and online shopping sites. Increasing amounts of data are transmitted at higher and higher speeds over fiber optic networks operating at 1 Gbps, 10 Gbps, or more. The Internet continues to grow, driven by ever greater amounts of online information and knowledge, commerce, entertainment, and social networking services. During the late 1990s, it was estimated that traffic on the public Internet grew by 100% per year, while the mean annual growth in the number of Internet users was thought to be between 20% and 50%. This growth is often attributed to the lack of central administration, which allows organic growth of the network, as well as the non-proprietary nature of the Internet protocols, which encourages vendor interoperability and prevents any one company from exerting too much control over the network. As of March 31, 2011, the estimated total number of Internet users was 2.095 billion, 30% of world population. It is estimated that in 1993 the Internet carried only 1% of the information flowing through two-way telecommunication. By 2000 this figure had grown to 51%, and by 2007 more than 97% of all telecommunicated information was carried over the Internet. Thank you for watching this video.